Hey guys, I'm Carlos Ramirez. This is GreenTechShark. Let's get started. So Google I/O was this week, and it was pretty intense. It was pretty good. I always look at Google I/O as kind of like this time where innovation is truly the main point of the event. I mean, sometimes Google comes out with half-baked stuff, sometimes they come out with stuff that's fully baked, but no matter what it is, you can always count on it being a good time for innovation. Now, every year, Google kind of has a main focus about what they want to talk about this year. And for this year, it was Android. Android everywhere. See, I think Android has kind of become to this point where it's so mature that now Google wants to put it everywhere, because if Android is everywhere, that means Google is everywhere. Now, they're doing this with this new design language they like to call material design. And material design is like this new type of design language that has layers, has this sort of like kind of flat but not flat interface. It's colorful. It's basically everything we've been seeing from Google Now and like all of Google's newer services into Android now. So it's nice, it's clean, it's sleek. I feel like, iOS kind of had that sort of renaissance with iOS 7 with like its new design language. Now Google's about to have its third renaissance now with material design. One big thing they wanted to focus on with material design is that it can fit on any screen, whatever it is. And they really emphasized that with all the different versions of Android they just introduced. First, they introduced Android L. Now, Android L is just a preview of what we're soon going to be seeing as, the later L version of Android, whether they call that Lollipop or Lemon Meringue or whatever it is, some sort of treat. We'll be seeing that later in the future, but they just kind of previewed a little bit of it. They previewed like the mail application, they previewed some other applications like the dialer, and it looked pretty good on, a phone. Next, they introduced Android Wear with a bunch of new watches, the LG G Watch, the Samsung Gear Live, and the Motorola Moto 360. And basically, Android Wear is a lot more powerful than I thought it would be. It's basically Google Now, but on your wrist. So it's not necessarily supposed to be controlled by you, it's meant to be controlled by you, but it's really a predictive kind of a service. So it's supposed to already know what you want to do at a specific time, which is awesome because, I think that's really what a watch should be. It should kind of know what you want to do without having too much hassle with controls and stuff like that. So they introduced like a lot of things, a lot of different applications that were really neat, and I think it's going to be a pretty cool interface. The crowd seemed pretty excited about the Motorola Moto 360, which is clearly the front runner for this kind of interface. Next, they introduced Android Auto, and that's basically just Android in the car. Basically what you start seeing with all these different interfaces, that they all kind of look the same. So Android Auto kind of had like the same type of card feature that every other interface had, and it's not enough to distract the driver, but it's just enough so that it can be, useful for the driver in the car. So that was pretty neat. They also discussed Android TV, which is a revamp of their attempt at trying to get the TV. First they tried out with Google TV, which was really a failure in all, senses of the word. But Android TV kind of looks like all the other interfaces of Android, and it's a lot simpler and, has a very transparent design, so it doesn't try to, take away from the entertainment that you're already watching on the TV. And it's really it's another screen to put Android on, which I think, the way it looked to me, it looked pretty elegant. So, if I can stream my phone onto the TV anytime I want, it might be a contender for something for me to buy. One thing to pull away from Google I/O this year is that Google is trying to put Android on every single screen possible with a platform that can work on any screen. The way I think they wanted us to view Android was that Android is no longer an OS that's just for smartphones. Android is now an OS that's for every single screen you can possibly imagine. It's more of a platform to develop on than, just a fun operating system for phones and tablets. So in a sense, instead of competing with just iOS, it's competing with so many other different platforms now, like Samsung Smart TVs. It's competing with like QNX in the car for car operating systems. It's trying to compete on so many levels. But the crazy thing is that it's actually working. The material design language that they have really does work for a lot of different screen sizes and a lot of different, you know, tasks. It works a lot, and it's kind of weird how it does work like that. This year's Google I/O was pretty eventful, which is, nice to refresh, because I didn't like last year's Google I/O last year. I felt like it was a little boring. I felt like Google I/O this year was worth watching, so I'm going to have a link for that down below to watch the entire thing, because there was a lot of stuff introduced at Google I/O. I didn't have a lot of time to talk about it. Google always seems to have some of the most interesting announcements out of the entire technology industry, in my opinion. I think that they just have the coolest stuff to announce. I'm starting this new thing on this show where I'm going to have an interesting article of the week that I found. So I found this new article. I'm going to have a link for it down below. It's about Mashas Duarte, and there's an interview with him and Gizmodo. And they start talking about the whole material design language, and I think it's worth a read because it's pretty cool about how the Android team came up to that sort of design language. If you like this tech video, please give it a like down below. If you want more tech videos from me, we have a new tech video every Friday. Please click the subscribe button, you'll get more of those every Friday. If you want to do any social networking with us, I have all the links for that down below. That's it, guys. See you next week.